Thank you so much for joining me on Coffee With today. My guest is Lucy DeRossette with Knowledge College. Of course, everybody knows Lucy because we know May May and Harley.
Right.
And,
I've got big shoes to fill.
That's right.
Those two.
Right. So, welcome to Coffee With.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. I've interviewed so many of your family members, and I've got some more scheduled.
Well, good.
So we're just trying to hit all of y'all. But you are involved with, Harley was telling me, you're involved with Knowledge College.
Yes.
And I don't really know what that is, Lucy. So tell me about it and what you're doing and how you got started.
Okay. Well, Knowledge College is a summer program. I teach school at Vicksburg High School, so it's just during the summer. And we started it for learning disabled children this was our 10th summer, this past summer. And it's a reading and math program. We work specifically on reading and just reading and math. Now, we figure science and history will follow when they can read and do their math. It was designed for learning disabled children. I have 2 children with learning disabilities. And when we found out, Mary Quinn is attention deficit disorder, which is not really considered a learning disability, and slightly dyslexic. KK, my middle child, is extremely dyslexic. And my brother Will is dyslexic, and he suffered with that all through school. And when I found out that KK was dyslexic, I just cried and cried because I wanted her to have choices in life. I wanted her to be able to go to college and be who God made her to be. And I found this group in Memphis. We were living up in South Haven, Mississippi, and the teacher at the little Catholic school there tested my girls, and she said, this child is dyslexic, and she put us in touch with a parent group there. This was in 1999, I think, and the parent group is called the Memphis Dyslexia Foundation, and they taught me how to teach my girls to read, and it was life-changing. And we moved back to Vicksburg the next year. We were only there about a year, and when I came back, I said, I got to have something like this. So I started Knowledge College then, modeled it after the Memphis Dyslexia Foundation, and it's been going strong since then, and it's just a completely different way of teaching reading. I'm a high school teacher, so I didn't know anything about teaching reading. I just knew that I learned to read, and what I didn't know is that there are a lot of really smart people in the world who, for one reason or another, don't learn to read. And in our society, we think if you read, you're smart, and if you don't read, you're dumb. And we're missing out on all these geniuses floating through our community and through the world who are just untapped talent because they never mastered the reading. And some of the greatest minds of the last century were dyslexic, and their teacher said that Albert Einstein's teacher said he'd never amount to anything.
Yeah, if we looked at the list of dyslexic people,
it's unreal.
It's amazing. Inventors, creators,
so creative,
and artists, and
so creative.
It's scary, really, how pervasive it is.
And they say 10 to 15% of the community is dyslexic. So anyway, that's why I started it, was for KK. And KK's now a sophomore at Ole Miss, and she's just doing phenomenally well. And I know in my heart that she could have never gotten there without something like this. There's lots of good programs out there, so Knowledge College is not the only good program out there. But it was a God thing. Most teachers don't get kids with learning disabilities because kids who don't do well in school never grow up to be teachers. They get a sick feeling in their stomach when they think about school, so they don't grow up to be teachers. And until you see somebody that you know is smart and they're just not getting the reading, you don't really get it. And I know for myself, before I had children, I thought those kids were lazy. It was poor parenting. If they just have them in bed on time or get the proper supplies, one more computer program would do it, and that's not it at all. I never met a first grader who ever said they wanted to grow up and be a dropout or they wanted to grow up and go to jail. But unfortunately, 10, 12 years later, a third of our kids are dropping out, and the big majority is because they can't read, because they have some kind of undiagnosed learning disability like dyslexia. So we've been doing it for 10 years, and I say every year that I'm going to stop, that I'm not going to do it again, because My girls don't need it. I have a 9-year-old, and she does not need it at all. And my 2 older girls who did need it are in college now. But when those moms call me and I hear the desperation in their voice, and I know their pain, when you know there's something just not clicking with your child and you don't know where to turn to.
So tell me what the program is.
Well, it's a very systematic approach to teaching reading. We assume that the children know nothing, and we take them back to the beginning in phonics, and we reteach it. But what's different from the classroom is that it's one-on-one. It's very structured. You don't move on until you've covered this, and with one-on-one you can do that. Where it's the whole class, you got to teach this part this week and this the next week, and if a child didn't get it, sorry, we got to go on because we're on a schedule. Well, going one-on-one, some children go very quickly, some children go very slowly. But what we found is the things they already know, they'll zoom through, and the things that they're going to struggle with, they slow down on. So it's a very structured reading program. Take us back to the beginning, and we teach grammar, punctuation, spelling, reading. One skill that we teach that I love is paraphrasing. We teach a child the actual meanings of words, like the dog ran down the street. And we teach them the definitions of those words so that they can change the sentence up to fully comprehend it. So if the sentence were the dog ran down the street, the child might learn to paraphrase that as this one house pet with a tail did run very fast on the road, something like that. And that is a wonderful skill that they can carry over into the classroom once they learn how to do that. And that helps so much with their comprehension.
You know what's so interesting about that is years ago I used to work in a brain injury rehab center.
Really?
And I was working with a team, and I was a social worker, but I worked with other rehab professionals. And we worked, of course, with people who had brain injuries and strokes, particularly with strokes and other types of things. And that's one of the techniques that the speech pathologists used particularly with people who had strokes, where it had affected their speech and language center.
Right. To help
they would have word finding difficulties, and maybe they couldn't come up with the word cup, but they would say it's a container that holds water and it has a loop for your finger. And that's kind of sounds like the same thing.
Exactly.
It's like you're getting into the same spot in your brain through a different pathway.
Different pathway, yeah. And I think that one day we'll find through research that stroke victims, Alzheimer's disease, people with dyslexia, Asperger's syndrome, all those are so closely related. So closely related. They just develop in different ways and at different times.
And I guess it all has to do with that speech language center in our brain.
Exactly. And I have no training in speech pathology, but a lot of what we do is very closely related with what our speech teachers do with children. The sounding out of the words, the holding the mouth the right way, the repetition. I know that my daughter went to speech, and I picked up right away that we were doing the exact same thing that the speech pathologists are doing. It's very interesting.
This is a program you do just over the summer?
We do it over the summer.
And is it every day that they come
We do it for 4 weeks. 4 weeks during the summer for 5 days a week from 8 to 12. And we say that one day at Knowledge College is like a week in regular school. So I make my parents sign on the dotted line that they're going to have them there every day because we just can't afford to waste any time. I also ask the parents to take them totally off sugar for the month because I found that sugar is just like a little drug for these kids. As a matter of fact, my youngest daughter, Ann Wallace, likes to watch Toddlers and Tiaras, that TV show, and they call pixie sticks on that show, they call it pageant crack. And they give it to the little babies before they go out on stage. And that just is so descriptive to me of what is really going on. So when a parent sends a kid to school with a honey bun for breakfast, for the next hour they're just wired and they can't take in anything because they're going haywire. So I'm pretty strict on my parents that they have to commit to having the children there every day, to keeping them off the sugar. We work around things like camp and summer vacations, but really I prefer that they not miss anything because it is so important.
And it's every day for 4 weeks.
Every day for 4 weeks. And for the past 3 years, we've been at the Knights of Columbus, and we just kind of float around. We're not a nonprofit in that we don't have nonprofit status, which I could easily get. I'm just too busy tutoring kids to do it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we partner with different groups in the community. United Way has given us a spot before. With the first group we partnered with was Jacob's Ladder when they were starting. As a matter of fact, I just talked to Elizabeth Bryant, who was in on the group that started Jacob's Ladder the other day on Facebook, and she said, I can't believe you're still going. It's right when they were starting up, I was starting. I partnered with them. I've worked with Truly Ministries here in town, just different groups, and right now we've been working with the Knights of Columbus for the last 3 years. They give us a space to use for the month, and we do charge tuition because we got to pay the tutors because it's one-on-one. That's a lot to ask for somebody to give up 4 weeks just to tutor. So we pay our tutors not a lot, and any parent or family member who wants to come and volunteer, that takes the place of the tuition because all the tuition is going straight to the tutors. So we do charge tuition, but we've never turned a kid away because they couldn't pay. We will find a way. This year we did a fish fry. We sold little bracelets that said Knowledge College, and we just do whatever we have to do to tie the ends, the budget, and the expenses together. And
well, I don't know if Harley has mentioned this to you, but we're working on something to support that.
Well, no, she hasn't. She told me that she thought that would be a good idea, but she hasn't told me.
Yes, we have a meeting
great.
very soon. We have put a group of people together to work on that. So hopefully by next summer, we will, I'm delighted to hear that you're not in a situation where you have to turn anyone away.
Right. Well, we're just real fortunate. Every year I worry that we're not going to have enough money, but God always provides, and that's just been my attitude because we are not a wealthy community here in Vicksburg. We have a lot of poor people, and those people deserve for their children to learn to read just like everybody else's. And so,
And you're a public school teacher.
Right, I'm a public school teacher. I teach at Vicksburg High School, and I see those kids in the 11th grade who never learned to read.
Struggled all
those years. And I know their moms, and I know that they love their children as much as I love my children, and they deserve for their children to be able to learn to read too. And so we just never, I had a phone call the other day from somebody, a friend. She said, Lucy, I didn't do anything for you this summer in Knowledge College, and what can I do? What can I do? And I said, well, I'm sure, and in about a month, I'll get a call from some mother who, she works 3 jobs, and her child is home by himself, and they don't know where Dad is, and her child needs some tutoring, and I'll call you up and tell you that you can make a donation to get that child some tutoring.
So do you try to help people during the year as well?
I do mostly just one-on-one tutoring or small group tutoring, and mostly I love to get some kind of program going like the summer program where come, and if you can pay for it, great, and if you can't, we'll find a way. I haven't been able to do that on the after-school thing and still have any kind of life. I'll stay up till midnight and tutor little kids all night long, but it interferes with my family life and my husband, so they would prefer that I not. So last year what I did was I had a little group that came for an hour right after school every day, and I helped them mostly with homework. And then after that, I would do some one-on-one, and I usually get a teenager to help me. But it does add a lot of chaos to my home life. But like I said, I can't say no. But what I have found is during the school year, the children have so much homework, and we're just trying to keep their grades up so they don't fail. That after-school tutoring is really just a Band-Aid approach to the big problem. I really need them in the summer so I can go in and fix the problem.
Do some more intensive.
Right, do some more and get them up to grade level and fill in those gaps. I say that our kids' education is like a big old piece of Swiss cheese. They've got lots of holes in it. Maybe they had a teacher who was out having a baby one year. Maybe they've moved around school district to school district and they've lost the curriculum. maybe they had a parent die or a divorce. There's just a ton of different reasons that a child falls behind in school that have nothing to do with his or her learning ability. And so they've got all these gaps. And we just try to go back and fill in those gaps in reading and math. And I mean, first through kindergarten through third grade, you learn to read, and after third grade, you read to learn. So we've got to get them reading at grade level as soon as possible. And you know, in the United States, we build prisons based on reading levels of third graders, and so that's just real near and dear to my heart.
They go in at that age and look and see how many third graders we have, and then they know how many prison cells we need in 15
How
years.
scary is that?
Oh, it makes you feel ill.
Right. And if you ask a third grade teacher, you ask a kindergarten teacher, she can tell you which kids are going to graduate and which kids probably are not going to graduate in kindergarten. It's that.
Well, you know, I go and read once a week to a kindergarten class
at
a public school, and this will be my 4th or 5th year to do that. I go to the same teacher's class every year, and you know, I'm not a teacher. I have I know nothing.
But
okay,
you know
I go and read, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because by the end of that year, going in for 1 hour a week, I can tell.
Right.
I can tell the kids who are going to make it, and I can tell the ones who are not.
Right. But what I believe is that every child can learn. Every child can learn. Now, they may not learn as quickly, they may not learn as easily as all the other children, but every child can learn. And if we just take them where they are and we just keep working with them, they can master it. I say my kids never flunked a year, they just ran out of school a year. They just needed more time.
So that reading is so crucial to
everything.
There's, you know, when I say there's success in life, I don't mean a big high-powered job and a whole ton of money. I mean just
right. And their self-esteem, their self-worth.
Yes.
There I go. I'm sorry.
Believe in what they can do
right.
and how they can do it.
Right, and knowing that they're smart.
Yes.
Because, you know, an artist, a dancer, a carpenter, those are all brilliant people. They took tons of higher level thinking skills to build this building here. You know, I certainly couldn't do it. But those people where that's their gift and reading is not, they're going through life thinking they're less than, and they're not less than. We need all people. I used to feel like I was on a one-woman mission to eradicate illiteracy in Warren County, and I don't feel like that anymore. And I'm so excited because it's much too big of a job for one person. I was just in a workshop Monday and Tuesday of this week, and it was about reading in the secondary classrooms, and they had every English, science, history, and math teacher in the Vicksburg Warren School District, 7th through 12th grade, showing them how to incorporate reading. Because as a secondary teacher, we're not taught anything about reading. They're supposed to get to us already reading, and they're not. And we've got to figure out how to improve their reading skills in the secondary classroom.
And I love it that Dr. Swinford is not going, why didn't you teach these kids to read? She's saying they're not reading.
Right.
Here's the
do
issue.
something.
Let's all get together on one great big team and do something about it, because she gets the reading.
Right.
piece.
She understands
gets it in such a big way.
Yes. When I was talking with her, telling her about Knowledge College, she said, "You're speaking my language." And as a matter of fact, she has a sibling who's dyslexic, so she does get it. And we're so fortunate to have her here in Vicksburg. And I was just in a faculty meeting yesterday at Vicksburg High, and just almost brought to tears by the changes that in just the scores for the children in just this 1 year.
In 1 year.
1 year.
It's amazing.
Amazing. And so that tells us we have a smart community, we have smart kids, but a school district is so important to the development of a community. Industry is not common when they look at a 40 and 50% dropout rate. And that, I mean, why would they? They don't have any schools to put their upper level management for them to put their children in, and they don't have an educated workforce.
Right.
And we have good people here, people who want to work and can work if the jobs are here.
And people who want to read and can read.
Right, can read if they're taught in the way that they learn.
And don't say, well, you're in 10th grade, it's too late. Okay,
never
say,
too late.
you're in 10th grade, we have time.
Right. And what I do at Knowledge College, now this program, it was originally developed by a man named Dr. Charles Shedd, and he developed it for adult prisoners because he saw the correlation between being in prison and not being able to read. After they used it there for a while, they started using it with dyslexic children because they saw a correlation with dyslexia in prison. And then when I started using it, I had just enough information to be really dangerous. I really did not know what I was doing at all. I just had this program that I knew worked for my girls. And so people would call me and they'd say, well, my child's not dyslexic, but can I bring him? And I was like, well, yeah, let's try it. And they'd say, my child's attention deficit, or my child is mentally retarded, or my child is Asperger's, or my child is gifted. And I'd say, well, come on, let's just try it. And what I have found is that anybody can learn to read. Like I said, it just takes longer. The lower the intelligence, the slower the progress will be. But anybody can read and learn with this. And I don't have enough tutors that I can teach high schoolers, but high schoolers would certainly learn under this program. I just use high schoolers as my tutors. So that always makes for a problem if I have a student being tutored by someone their own age. So I stop it at 6th grade, but when I find a junior high kid or a high schooler who needs to learn to read, what I do is I bring them in as a tutor, and it helps them just as much as it helps the little ones. It's amazing to me. By teaching them phonics, their decoding skills come up, but not only that, their comprehension comes up, and their fluency, how well they can read.
Schools quit teaching phonics.
Well, I don't know, because I'm not an elementary teacher, but I think back in the 70s and 80s there was this move towards whole, what did they call it? Whole child, whole word, I don't remember. But anyway, they were teaching reading by sight, which is a wonderful way to teach reading, and it's a way that we all learn to read. But the English language is so vast. To learn every word by sight would take forever. And so that's where we got a lot of gaps in it. It has to be a combination of sight words and phonics. Now, the English language is a terrible language to learn. We're very fortunate.
We have no perspective on that, though.
Right, we really don't, but it's so difficult because so many languages mix together, and especially American English. And, P makes the P sound here, and put it with an H and it makes the F sound, and C sounds like K sometimes, and S other times. There's so many discrepancies. It's a very, very difficult language to learn, to speak it and to read it and to spell it and to write with it. And so I don't know how I got off on that, but it's so hard to start with. And then when you have a language deficiency.
We're talking about phonics.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And the sight words. You can never teach all those sight words, so you've got to teach some basic rules. What I've found with a dyslexic child is they're very eager to learn. They're very structured in their learning, and if you teach it in a way that they can understand it, they will get it just like that. One of the things that I'm really big into is learning styles. When I start working with a child, I don't do an IQ test anymore. I used to do an IQ test to see, but I just find that people put way too much emphasis on that. So I do a reading test and a math test. I'm looking for grade level. Where are they in their grade level? And then I do a learning style inventory, which tells me what kind of learner they are, because I really believe we can improve their learning by threefold if we teach them in the way that they learn. So everybody learns through their 5 senses: sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell. And I keep telling people, if I could learn how to bake a word, I could make $1 million. I Hooked on Phonics would be out of business, because Lucy DeRossette and Knowledge College would have taken over. I can't figure out how they can smell a letter or taste a word, but by using sight, hearing, and touch, they can learn. And most of our teachers are using sight and hearing in the classroom. And so many of these kids are tactile learners. They've got to touch it. They've got to feel it. They got to move around it. I've seen dyslexic children actually turn the piece of paper over looking for the back of the letter. They think that's why they're great artists. They think in 3 dimension. I worked with a little boy one time. He couldn't read a lick looking at the words. Turned the page upside down, he could read beautifully. Is that not so crazy? Isn't that so crazy? But when you think about it, the wiring is different. And to a dyslexic child, when you show them a lowercase b, they look at that and it looks like a ball. And it looks like a ball that's on a stick. And then you show them a D. Well, that's the same ball and same stick to them. And a P and a Q. And they're looking for the other side of it. They're thinking of it in 3 dimensions. They see shadows that we don't see. And so it's just foreign to them. I tell people, for some of our children, just sitting down and learning to read is like sitting me in the middle of med school over at University Medical Center. It is just something I will never understand, how to be a doctor. It's like teaching me Chinese. I have no concept of it. And so we have to break it down, and we have to take it very slowly. And
Well, you know, that's a great analogy, because when you look at Chinese or some of those, it just looks like a bunch of squiggles.
Right.
And yet we look at this.
And we know exactly what it means.
But to someone who's dyslexic, it probably does look like Chinese.
And all the descriptions of what dyslexia children, well, some children say that the words float around. Some say they're turned around. I don't know that they're actually turned around. I think that the children just never got it, that we read from left to right. They turn it around. They can't remember. It's just so foreign to them. You and I just take that for granted, that we always start on the left and go to the right. But some children don't get that. And there's no rule that says that, except that that's how we learned. Because, in Chinese, they read top to bottom and right to left. So
in Hebrew they read right.
Right. So you see, there's no, it's just the people that came up with our language who came up with this, and if you don't have any natural instinct for that, it's always going to be a problem to you. And it's so closely related to language, your reading skills. Most children who are going to have a problem with reading, they're late talkers. They get words mixed up. I know KK, we used to laugh at the things she would say. She called me one time on the phone, and she said she and her daddy had gone fishing, and she said, I got a po-po-po. I said, what? She's like 6. I said, what? You got a what? She said, I got a po-po-po. I said, a what? And I said, put your daddy on the phone. He said, we went to Walmart, and she got a purple pole, a purple fishing pole. But the way she said it was po-po-po, because her language skills just weren't there, and that was that would have been a clue to us that she was going to struggle with reading. But, what I found is that the teachers are more than willing to work with our kids. They just have to be educated about it, and they have to know what to do. And so that, as a parent, that's the attitude I always took. And the teachers were phenomenal with my kids. But I didn't go in fighting them. What do you mean my kid can't do,
Right.
And so I'm just very optimistic about Vicksburg and Warren County and our schools and the great things that are going to happen.
We have great leadership.
We do.
Excellent
And we've always had great teachers. Great teachers who are working themselves to death. And, everybody likes to pass the buck. The high school teachers say it was the junior high teacher's fault. Junior high says it was the...
It doesn't matter whose fault it was. It's done.
Let's do it.
Over.
Let's do it.
Right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Lucy, thank you so much. This is so interesting.
Thank you, Robyn.
And after we get the board put together that Harley and I are working on, well, really it's Harley. I'm just kind of, the wagon. I want you to come back.
Okay, great. I will.
Hopefully
so exciting to me.
We'll see this expand.
Wouldn't that be
just
wonderful?
Reach more people.
It's so wonderful.
It's so many people.
So 10 to 15% of the population. And are we willing to throw away 15 out of every 100 kids
that are bright people
who can contribute to society and be taxpayers and be good parents to their kids?
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I appreciate it.
That's so great.
Promotional consideration provided by
Amber Sanders from Happy Hair. Get your hair happy at 3402 Wisconsin Avenue.